It's Roger, Mudfossil University. Now, I didn't know quite how to approach this, but I'm going to start with this. This is DNA certification of 3 mud fossils. 2 of them were giant human beings. The third was the normal-sized human being. All 3 certified with DNA. All 3 validated by Gil Headley, who is a very, very qualified autopsy anatomist, PhD, owns his own business and teaches worldwide autopsies. And he validated that it was just exactly what I'm saying, and the CAT scans, and the DNA, and the chemistry now is fully understood. Now, the objective was to perform extraction genomic of mitochondrial DNA from 3 samples, these mud fossil samples. Now, they sent this stuff off and had it sequenced, and it all came out that the negative controls were negative. Everything was the way it should be. I talked to the lab people. They say there's no possibility of contamination that they can determine. It was dense DNA for ancient DNA. It wasn't like a swab of something because it was taken directly from the arterial blood supply. And I know where to get it from. So Homo sapien mitochondrial cytochrome B and Homo sapien mitochondrial D loop. Now, this is not a 5-minute test. This took months to do and was expensive and was certified. So that is the nature of the evidence that I possess. And I'm going to show you the mud fossils themselves as well. Before I show you the evidence, this is a union of concerned scientists. They're upset that the Scientific Integrity Act passed out of the committee with unprecedented bipartisan support. Well, scientific integrity means that they're telling you the stuff that's factual based on their inspection of what is DNA certified and CAT scanned and all things. So this is just out October 17th. Now, I would like to have these people, these are all our leaders in Congress, and they are supporting this because they say there's an integrity crisis. Calling for legislation is what they termed a scientific integrity crisis. It's a disaster. And I'm not exactly sure what they feel is the crisis, but I can tell you what the crisis is. They will not allow whatever they don't want to hear. Even it doesn't matter what the proof is, as I am showing you right now. So they silencing scientists that are doing things like I do. But good ideas should be embraced regardless of their origins, and we were able to earn votes from members of both parties through dialogue, compromise, and pressure. Now, these are the people that we want to thank. House Science Committee Chairwoman Eddie Bernice Johnson. Now, you should email her and let her know that she's doing the right thing. Representatives Stevens, Baird, Sherrill, Norman for advancing the understanding of this issue. These are the people that are looking for truth, it appears. Now, as again, I don't know exactly what their agenda is, but I can tell you one thing, it needs to be opened up and scrutinized by people. Now, thanks to also to the ranking member Lucas and Representative Baird for working in good faith to achieve a bipartisan bill. Yes. Congressman Paul Tonko for drafting the Scientific Integrity Act. Now, this is the guy you want to email, and I'm going to be calling him, and you should call and email him. He's in New York, and he helped to get 226 members on board to support this legislation. So let's be sure we don't let it fall. The DNA report included this, which is a human lung. The sample was taken out of this red, what they call the tongue, which is the arterial blood is in there, the red blood. This is a human lung, and the depression of the heart is in the back. It's a left human lung. That is the pattern of the pleura. Any anatomist that understands anything, has ever done any autopsies, or knows anybody that has done any work on the human body will know the fabric of the pleura and so forth. And this is a giant hand. Also was included in the DNA report. And this is the finger that I took the DNA out of, and I took it out of the red blood right there. It's going to be hard to see, but you might be able to see how red it is down inside there. And you go down in deep and it gets redder and redder. Now, this was not real solid DNA. This one was the weakest one. The rest of them were very dense in DNA. And this is one of the fingertips, which is from the left thumb. It was it's the left thumb. And that's the pads underneath your finger. And you can feel them on your own left thumb. You got a pad here and a pad up here. That's where the tendons lock in so that you can move your fingers around. That's where the black blood was, the vein blood, and this is where the arterial side, the red blood side. These open up and the black blood side does not. All right, so that is two different mud fossils that were sent, and then an additional one was way, way too big. It's the fingertip itself is 30 inches wide, and it's so perfect that you can see the fingerprint very clearly and the fingernail. All right, this is a video I did about this 3 years ago, and it's already been certified. It was DNA certified and all that stuff back then. Here goes. It's done. All right, this fingertip was DNA tested, 100% human. Now, you see the fingernail? Watch what goes on here. See the fingernail? Took a piece off that went over the top here and wrapped around to the fingerprint, and here it is right there. That's the actual fingerprint of it. All right, it came up the side like that, and that's where it meets the fingerprint. And you'll see it has all these dots, which are the sweat gland pores. Hold on, let's get a little. Sorry about banging around here, but here we go. Well, it's just that I did a video on. I'm just going to let myself talk on the video, so just listen. I don't know. All right, this is the fingerprint itself that I broke off the edge. Now this is the part that wraps around literally this little edge right here, about right that little tiny spot on a human finger. There's no fingerprint, and then the fingerprint starts on. All right, well, I'm doing a video of a video of a video. This goes back 3 videos ago. So it was 3 years ago I did this video, and then the one back from that was probably a couple of years. I don't know. But it's all human, gigantic human ancestors that we have. So now with this freedom of integrity of science, I'd like to have somebody respond to this. They can't just stop and not pay attention. Let me just show you what has happened. You could see 3 years ago I did this. It was DNA tested. This goes back 8 years. And here's what the whole story is right here. All right, Yale refused to examine it. Yale, Derek Briggs down at Yale refused to examine it. Oh, he couldn't possibly have the stuff. Well, I did all the things they asked for, the DNA, the CAT scan, the chemistry, the anatomist, and then he still refuses. To this very day, he refuses to look at it. Claims there's nothing at all, that everybody else is wrong except him. Now, Harvard did the same thing, Max Planck, New York University, University of Texas, dozens of them. Johns Hopkins, Peter Salzberg was my professor there, and in 8 minutes he denied everything that I presented to him, and I presented a lot of stuff. It was just really very, very, it didn't end well, let me put it that way. And of course I dropped the course. Now, if I paid somebody to go to college, to get the education I needed to make money to provide for myself, that makes that person a fiduciary. Because not only are they teaching me, they have to work in my best interest. If they're not working in my best interest, 100%, nothing to do with them. If they're embarrassed, too bad. If they made a mistake, too bad. If whatever the issue is, they have to work in my best interest. And that is not happening. Absolutely is not happening. So finding truth, not refusing scientific facts and specimens is their legal obligation. That is a fiduciary. And nobody can say they are not fiduciaries. And they are fiduciaries in the most serious way, because they are dominant over these students, and the students have no ability to protest. They have to agree to everything the teacher says in order to get that teacher to pass them. If they don't pass them, they keep their money and they go out and they're destroyed in life. If they just say what the teacher tells them to say, they're going to be okay. And then everybody else will say, oh, they must be smart because they can repeat what the teacher told them to say. And then it just cascades down from there, and nobody has the ability to fight back. Because if they do, they will be destroyed. And that's a fact. If I had to go out and make a living, I wouldn't be able to sell flea powder. Because people would say, that guy's crazy. He's talking about giants and dragons and all this crazy stuff. He's nuts. And they would stay away from me, which they have. But that's okay. I'm looking for reality. So the people that can't handle reality, I don't want them near me anyway. So these are the people. Really, Yale was the one that really destroyed everything, because he's right down the street from me, Yale. And they won't absolutely refuse for 8 years now. Totally, absolutely stonewall refuse. I've sent emails to the top administration down there and nothing. And I sent them to a lot of us. You wouldn't even believe it. And I've had some very, very bad, especially with University of Texas. Very, 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 very bad experience there. And that was the worst. Now, but they're all bad. And they all have to be straightened out. And they have to be put in a legal framework. Because if they're fiduciaries and they're not doing their job, that means the students should be entitled to get a refund. I mean, that's how it works. There is always recourse if you don't do what you're supposed to do. Now, what is the recourse? What's going to happen to the students? I have no clue. But let's work on this freedom of scientific engagement. You can't just walk away from something that's factual and say, I don't want to see it because I don't like it. And I'm going to go teach the students that it's something else because it makes me feel better, and they're going to think I'm smarter because if I admit to this, then I'm not smart. That's how they feel. They would be smart if they said, ooh, wow, let's take a look at this, and then they would have owned it. They would have owned it. Because I wanted to, I had no idea of going down this road, but I'm not going to come off the road until the road is paved and everybody else can find their way down it.